Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. Today we have a bunch of really exciting Star Wars tidbits, and we begin with the Acolyte, where we have even more casting news. So recently, if you remember, Lee Jung-jae and Jodie Turner-Smith were confirmed to have joined the main cast, but now 3 more actors of the principal cast have been named, thanks to the leaker Ahsoka. Nova Fuelis Mose will be playing the role of Miri, the younger sister of Amanda Stenberg's Aura, joining her as Frances Conroy and Charlie Tahan in unspecified roles. Now, another great piece of news for the show is that it's now listed to begin filming next month instead of November, so some really awesome stuff there. Now, moving on to the Cassian Andor show, StarWars.com debuted some really awesome character posters, including Cassian himself, Mon Mothma, and Luthen. Now, we also have a brand new interview with Diego Luna, who at D23 was asked about Felicity Jones and if she's going to be involved in the show, or the Rogue One universe as it's called going forward. Now, Diego's reaction was absolutely heartbreaking and so touching. He admitted the question caught him completely off guard, and he realised in that moment just how much he missed her. Luna says he hopes Felicity watches the series when it drops in just over a week's time, and he said he was going to call her as soon as the interview was over. It's so hard not to love Diego. His reaction was authentic, and he literally put his arms around the interviewer as he reflected on his memories shooting scenes with Felicity about 6 or 7 years ago. Now, there has been a lot of fan speculation over whether Erso is going to appear in the show at some stage. Some people think season 2 is likely, but there's been no word or even any rumours suggesting her involvement. Jones herself has said she's very keen on the possibility, but if she does return, it's got to be before Rogue One, so maybe the Andor series at a future date, or a separate Rogue One spin-off if they make one. Tony Gilroy says it's still a possibility. If she does appear in Andor though, she obviously cannot interact with Cassian. The two haven't met yet, but Felicity was amazing in Rogue One. I think Jyn is hands down the best female Star Wars hero of the Disney era. Her return would be awesome. And so now, my dear Mandalorians, we move on to an update from insider Daniel RPK, or Daniel Richman if you prefer. In an exclusive news scoop, he says he is adamant that a second season of the Book of Boba Fett is in the works. It's worth bearing in mind that in 2 months' time, with Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew wrapping up, there will be 2 vacant volumes. Based on production schedules, Lucasfilm will probably use these for The Mandalorian Season 4, and possibly, if it's happening, the Book of Boba Fett Season 2. Now, bear in mind the Acolyte and Andor Season 2 are here in the UK, so those two would not be filming in the US, and unless there are surprise shows that we don't know about, that's a reasonable guess. There have been tons of Boba rumours floating around, and for all we know, it's coming up on the schedules of Jon Favreau and Robert Rodriguez. Fingers crossed. So next up guys, moving on to a bit of speculation, Rae Sloane is rumoured to be part of an upcoming LEGO set, and many Star Wars fans are hyped about it, because LEGO rarely make minifigures based on the comics or the novels, so could this minifigure imply that we are going to see Rae Sloane in an upcoming Disney Plus show, or is it unrelated altogether? Well, as some folks have pointed out, Rae Sloane fits in perfectly in The Mandalorian, or earlier in the timeline in Andor, but I've got a hunch it is for Mando. Now before we move on, I do want to go through who Rae Sloane is, her importance in Star Wars and that kind of thing, because I'm well aware not everyone's heard of her. Now, Rae Sloane's been a big part of Star Wars canon ever since the beginning of the Disney Star Wars era. She made her first appearance in John Jackson Miller's A New Dawn, the first novel to be set in the revised canon since Lucasfilm transitioned the old expanded universe into what became known as Legends. Since then, she rose the ranks of the Empire, she witnessed its fall, and beyond that, she was a fundamental factor in the transformation from the Imperial Remnant into the First Order, which makes me think she's perfect for The Mandalorian, but even then, we don't know much about her at all. She also factored into the video game Star Wars Squadrons. Born on the planet of Ganthol, roughly 2 decades before the Clone Wars started, Sloane's childhood was one of wanderlust and dismay. Driven by the push and pull of wanting to leave her backwater world and improve the rampant piracy and crime that dominated it, the young Sloane signed up for the local Imperial Academy as soon as she could. She admired Palpatine and his newly constructed Empire's commitment to order, so when it arrived, she saw it as a great beacon of hope. Not to mention her admiration for the Empire when it came to her homeworld and wiped out so much criminality. Sloane rose through the ranks of the Navy with an almost unprecedented haste. As a cadet, she inadvertently stopped an assassination attempt on the lives of Palpatine and Darth Vader. After graduating, she served aboard several starships as part of the officer class, and before the age of 30, she had served as both the executive officer to Grand Moff Tarkin, and albeit temporarily, she commanded her own Star Destroyer, the Ultimatum, as captain. It was during her command of the ultimatum that Sloane first encountered Kanan Jarrus and Hera Syndulla, and she was forced to work with the would-be insurgents during the ultimatum's mission to escort an Imperial efficiency expert to the Gore system. Now, we don't actually know much else about her career in the Empire's heyday. At some point she was promoted once again to Vice Admiral, a rank she would still be holding by the time of the Battle of Endor. Commanding the Star Destroyer Vigilance, she was one of several admirals acting as part of the Imperial's blockade line, cutting off the rebel fleet after it assaulted the Death Star 2, and also one of the first to notice that the battle was not going the Empire's way. She was honest and cutthroat, ordering the surviving Imperial ships to flee at a safe distance as the second Death Star exploded. It was Rae Sloane that other commanders turned to as the stoic figure in the face of what looked to be the Empire's end. And so this is where we come to the Mandalorian timeline, because following the Battle of Endor, following Return of the Jedi, Sloane was very much still around. Her stoicism and fervent belief that the Empire should survive even without the Emperor made her a vital figure in the Imperial remnant after Endor, and I wouldn't be surprised if Moff Gideon knows her. Even though the New Republic was liberating worlds left, right and centre, Sloane was determined the Empire would survive. If we fast forward a bit, after the Battle of Jakku, Sloane once again found herself taking charge of what was left of the Imperial forces. The New Republic was destroyed, and Sloane saw the opportunity to rebuild the Empire. She hired a council of advisors, and very shortly after, the First Order was born, so she had a very lucrative life from the standpoint of Imperials. But there are a lot of gaps in her story, a lot of unknowns, and I think The Mandalorian, as it's going to explore more remnants in Season 3, should definitely include her, and I think this minifigure could be a sign. And speaking of Moff Gideon, guys, to finish off, Giancarlo Esposito at D23 teased a vulnerable Moff Gideon in the 3rd season. In his own words, he said, "You haven't seen Moff Gideon be vulnerable before. Only you can supply yourself with the patience to find out what comes next. So teasing something huge to come. I know he's going to escape from prison, but what happens next is going to be truly fascinating. Is he out for revenge? Or as he teased in a recent interview, he's going to be searching the galaxy for other Imperial remnants. He knows they're stronger together, but some of them are not on his side." As is the case with Rae Sloane, not all of the Imperial remnants who survived are keen on bringing the Emperor back. Some of them have other goals, notably reforming the Empire and rebuilding it without the need for Palpatine. But Moff Gideon and others of his faction think that Palpatine is essential. That's why they're doing the cloning projects. Now that conflict between Imperial guards, various remnants across the galaxy is going to be truly amazing to see. It's going to be a new sort of conflict for this story. Not only that, but with the unknown regions being explored, there could be a lot more at stake. Now if you're interested in the unknown regions, what Thrawn and Ezra are up to, and what The Mandalorian Season 3 is going to set up for Skeleton Crew and Ahsoka, then check out yesterday's video. You're going to absolutely love it. It explores all of that and the biggest implications for the Star Wars galaxy going forward. So check out that video, guys. If you enjoyed this one, as always, give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg. Have a good one.